Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're here live with co-working at Red Worldwide, and we're excited that you joined us today. We are in our home studio again, yay! And so we're so excited to be home and to be in a position where we can help you learn about doing business better. Today is our Smarter Start Boot Camp. We do this once a week, and we are literally just waiting sometimes for this time frame to be able to release certain types of content. And so, with that said, we really do want you to be clear about a couple of things that it is our intention with Smarter Start Bootcamp to try to make sure that we put some content out here for people who are brand new in business. I mean, they're just really getting started or they're in their seed stage. I mean, they haven't even started yet. We do want to put that information out there, but we want you who are seasoned in business to know that every day you can have a smarter start. Okay. So there are lots of things that you're always launching, you're always doing in business. And we are very clear about the fact that if you are a Red member or if you've some kind of other way found your way to our podcast, that this is a time for you to gain some skills that will help you in your business and help you to become more efficient at what you do. And so, with that said, we're going to go into our session today, and we really want every person who has an opportunity to spend this next 40 minutes with us to take some notes, or if you're in the car, know that you can come back and and watch this later because we promise you that, what we're doing, we're making available to you in a way that is going to provide you a good footing in your company. And today we're going to be talking about the 4 degrees of validation. It's very, very, very important that you are clear about some things. And one of those is that you cannot do everything by yourself. I know a lot of solo entrepreneurs. I've worked with them. I've been a solo entrepreneur. I know what that means. And let me just tell you, we have a thing over here that we talk about when we talk about being a solo entrepreneur or being a person that has a small shop. We know that you got to have a good team, good tech, okay? And those two things have to be in place. There are two other things that go along with that, but we'll talk about that in a different podcast. But today, when we're talking about a good team and good tech, I mean, that's really what you have to be or have when you're doing business with a small shop. But you do also have to have those things when you are doing business with a medium or larger shop, and so we want you to be very much aware of the fact that even though you might be the only one performing some of the services or most of the services to your facing clients, there is a back office that you can put in place, whether there are vendors or contractors, or for that matter, if you have good tech. We have been talking on Thursdays on our Tech Thursday broadcast. We talked about having, lots of tools, right? And so when you have tools that you can use, and some of those tools might be AI, some of those might just be good software, some of them might be even better hardware, or more hardware. People, laugh at me, but I have 3 iPads, okay? And I'm working every one of those iPads to the hilt. You have no idea. So, we are in the process of learning how to delegate certain responsibilities to different areas, or in different areas of our lives, to the team, the tech, or sometimes even the tools, And so as we are going forward today, we're going to learn a few things about, delegation. And I want to throw this slide up because I think it's important for you to have access, that you need to learn how to focus on your strengths. Okay. And it's important for you to know what those strengths are. Some of us, I have to say, we may not be very proficient at some things because we don't know about our own strengths, and so we don't know the areas that we need to work on, or for that matter, the tools that we need to, upgrade, or even the areas where we need to sharpen our skills. And so here's some wonderful material out that, I will tell you that you can, go out there and grab. These are some very good writers that have material out there. You might be aware of some other material that you have put maybe on the back burner and said, I'm going to read that one day. Today is the day. Go grab it, read a page. Okay. Spend 15 minutes, 10 minutes, just really trying to move your strengths forward. Tom Rath has an amazing Strengths Finder 2.0 book. I want to suggest that you grab that. There are some other books, that you can grab. You see Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine, Brendan Kane, 1 million followers, how I built a massive social following in 30 days. These are people who have some really good material that could help you understand what you might be able to do. Brittany Hennessy, influencer, just kind of take a look at some of these and see how they can bless your life. Okay. Because I think it's important for us to, contribute to ourselves. And then we need to, when we contribute to ourselves, then we can better understand where we make our unique contribution, how we get to be an impactful individual, and how we, in that impact, can leave an impression that never goes away. So let's kind of take a look at some things. Where do you make the highest contribution to your company's success as a business owner or an aspiring business owner? Most of us as founders, okay, we make the largest contribution to our company's success by winning new customers. We are the one who is in a position, because we're building the company, we become the program architect of our company. We are putting scaffolding up when we were first building, helping ourselves to, position the company so that it can be successful. And we're either landing the customers or we're keeping the customers happy, as the founder of the company. And so we got to make sure that in our making of our contribution to our company, we understand the contribution that we make. Selling is also where you make the biggest contribution in the shortest possible time. And you want to be able to understand the way that you do things, because, I have to tell you, there have been times where it took me, 30 days to close. And then there are times where I've gone and I've made one, big contribution by speaking to a group of people, and I closed almost the whole room. I've had a time where I've closed the whole room. So, there have been a situation, or two, okay, that I've been in where I had been able to land in a particular place, connected with my key clients, and they resonated with what I was saying. And at some point, I was able to close, them, and in their heart and mind, they were already ready to purchase before I even made the appeal. So closing a significant piece of business can transform your company. There have been times where I have had 4 or 5 major closings in a month, and it meant the difference between us making $10,000 that month or making $30,000. And so I want to be very clear with you that when I'm talking about this particular area, I want you to understand that you, as the company's founder, the company's owner, the company's CEO or president, whatever title you bear, you can transform your company, when you're able to close. And that's why most founders focus on attracting and serving customers. We call them rainmakers. Okay. So it's somewhat less common, are founders who make the largest contribution to their company in the areas of finance, HR policy, or legal issues, but they're out there, but they're rare. The most, I would say, is the sales area, in which we're seeing customers, really come in, and the customers are coming in because, of what it is that's happening in the company as a part of their as a part of their the influence that the company owner has. So, you know, are you making them the highest contribution in the business development end, sales, customer relations, you know, client services? You know, that's a rainmaker. That's what the rainmaker does. You know, they come in and they make it rain. Okay. And so I like to talk in that kind of vernacular because it's exciting when you know your spot, you know what part you play in your company. Um, but you know, the rainmaker's dilemma, and I want to tell you, they grow quickly at the beginning, but then something happens when the rainmaker runs out of selling hours in the day. The company plateaus and revenue flatlines, and we've experienced that because as a rainmaker, you cannot do everything when you're out there selling, presenting, going from door to door. You know, if that's your plight, you know, the type of business you have. There's a door to door even on the internet, by the way. If you're the person who's always in the driver's seat and always having to, you know, push that train down the track, you know, this could be a period of frustration for you because you bump up against the limits of your personal capacity to sell. And I will tell you that has happened to me. When it happens, I get ill. I'll catch anything that's out there. I mean, I don't care what it is. I have had COVID a couple times within the last 3 years. I've had the flu twice. I've had, you know, and this is not bragging, by the way. Okay, this is not. It's a sad indictment on a person who's an alternative practitioner to keep running into these situations where you are constantly, your body is running out of energy and you're not able to really stretch out as much as you would desire. But you have to come to the understanding that in the physical form, our bodies have limitations. And so because we have limitations, our limits, you know, and our capacity to sell or to, you know, push a sale, you know, it does not necessarily sometimes stretch out as far as we desire because we are human. And so we have to be very clear about that. So as a result, the architect's business start more slowly. And so we talked about the rainmaker, but then there's another person who is out there, and their person is called the architect. Okay. And the architect, they start their business more slowly, but they avoid the plateau of the rainmaker. Okay. So let's talk about that. Rainmakers they're almost half as likely to attract an offer. And there's a reason. The percentage difference between business owners who received an offer and don't generate most of the company's revenue and the ones who do. So we're going to take a look at these wonderful statistics here. You know, and when we're talking about an offer, we're talking about an offer for someone to purchase their company. Okay. We're not necessarily talking about an offer for someone to buy the services. So be really clear that there are people who it is their goal to sell their company. And if it's your goal to sell your company, you have to be aware that if you're a rainmaker, you're less likely than some of the other types of business owners out there to sell your company. Not necessarily sell it, but attract an offer. And there's some reasons why. But let's look at some percentages first, and we'll talk about the reasons why. What percentage of your company's revenue is undertaken personally by you or your fellow equity holders? And interestingly enough, okay, the blue is have not received an offer. The oranges have received an offer. So looking at the rainmakers, 92% of the business is personally undertaken by them. Those are, you know, those solo entrepreneurs that I talked about, because there's hardly anybody else in the business but you. Okay. And so you have not figured out the way to make it so that you could get yourself out of the owner's trap. And the owner's trap is we've talked about this when we did the freedom workshop and a couple of our other podcast episodes. We talked about how you can be in a situation where, you know, you are just, people only want to talk to you. You're the only person who has the ideas for the company. Everything revolves around you. And you are in a situation where You are sometimes even the source of supply in your company. And so maybe you're an influencer, or maybe you're a coach or an advisor, and you are the only person who people get to deal with in the front facing world of the company. So you have to find ways to remove yourself, whether it's creating your likeness by creating courses, or, making your services a mastermind, or, doing something where you are not 100% the person in the driver's seat all the time, that you have maybe an influence, but people can get used to talking to other people beside you, whether even if you're using AI, you have bots or some other kind of system that allows people to interact with, your technology or your other tools, and so that you have time to do the things that need to be done efficiently, in the company. And so as we're looking at this, who's received an offer and who hasn't received an offer, it's really important for you to understand that rainmakers are almost half as likely also to attract a premium offer. So let's kind of take a look at what that looks like. So we've got, 15%. Okay. Um, I mean, that is kind of a really low amount. Okay. And so we're 15% is likely. Whereas, because the company's revenue is undertaken by us, we have to really, really be careful when we are rainmakers to try to get ourselves in a better position where we have the ability to take advantage of better sales. There's another type of business owner, okay? And we're going to call that business owner the architect. She's too good at selling and influencing, or she too is good at selling and influencing, but she invests those skills in building sales and marketing systems. So remember, I talked about tech and tools, they help you to more efficiently use your time, and so when you build out these marketing funnels and branding initiatives and sales processes, these projects have a longer payback time, and they do not provide the instant gratification of the quick sale, but they are not in a situation where they're putting you out there where you are limited, because the systems themselves can work while you sleep, and you're as a rainmaker, you have a limited amount of hours that you can do what you do. When you build out systems that work while you sleep, they actually help you to really, expand your capacity. So let's look at the architect: designing marketing funnels, defining sales processes, creating branding initiatives. The architect business grows in a transferable way. It's transferable value, right? And so when you're looking at it and looking at the rainmaker may make the money faster in the beginning, but they plateau and they do not have the trajectory that the architect does. So the architect business starts more slowly, but avoids a plateau. And now you see there's a huge percentage of difference between business owners who have received an offer and don't know their customers and the ones who know each one of their customers. You don't have to know each one of your customers in order for you to be effective at what you do in your company. Okay. If you are able to serve every one of your customers and not necessarily concentrate on the personal relationships, but concentrate on serving them better, I can guarantee you that you attract the offers, in the end for the sale of the company, because the person coming in to purchase that company understands the importance of having a built out business that can function without you. So percentage differences between the business owners who received higher multiples, 6 times and above, 6x, we talk about the 5x, the 10x. They don't necessarily know their customers, and the ones, who are in that position who do, there's a huge difference. I mean, we're talking about, the architects having a 33% likely chance of a sale and getting a higher, you know, offer, higher ticket offer, an offer that's more than 5x, okay? As opposed to the rainmakers, it's 14% likely, to have that happen. So we're really, wanting to make sure that you understand the difference. And then, we want you to understand that when you are able to concentrate on the engine, okay, how do you build out the sales, and marketing engine, as opposed to how do you create the opportunity and make the sale. There's a wonderful transition here, and you can transition from that space of, being in the position where you are able to be the rainmaker and make the sales happen, or build out the engine that makes the sales happen. So you got to prioritize. Okay, you have to prioritize the those activities that the architect does in order for you to make sure that you become that person that can, not just create the sale, but also create the engine that makes the sales. Okay, business owners say they have trouble with delegating because they say that delegating sales, for example, is like this giant thing in their mind, and that they need to delegate, and they think it's totally impossible to delegate right now. Okay, they'll look at you really funny when you ask them to simply delegate sales to someone else, and that someone else could be some person or something, some software. I mean, it doesn't have to be you. It could be that you have a sales system, the tool that does it for you. So let's kind of take a look at a couple of things. It would be like if you just said build a car, where we know that cars are built generally, not, not all at once, but they're built by assembling all the parts in a set of steps. And so, I mean, here we can see some guys with, and kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. When one assembles a car, there's a person who puts on the plastic rails, or now we have robots that are doing these things in some factories. And there's somebody that assembles the door frames. There's another person who installs the door itself and who puts on the mud flaps. Every task is broken down into disparate acts. You need to think that, through this whole process, what are the finite, discrete activities that make up sales? Where are the parts of the sales, and, that roll together to make up the whole? So the owner's task is to try to tease out the steps that they know that they take to make it rain. And I mean, recently, my husband and I have been working on something that's going to be, launched or rolled out pretty quickly within our company, that's going to make it easier for us to, have this system, that's in place that doesn't require me as much. Because what we've realized is that we've had, some great opportunities. And it's important, that although these great opportunities have happened, and I have been able to, be the person to kind of make some of those things happen, I don't intend to be the rainmaker forever. I intend that, I'm transitioning to the architect, and I'm doing it with a quickness, so that there are some other things we can focus on in building out the company, lasting value, the customer lifetime value, the sustainable processes that will help the company to be more effective. So here we see, our second guy, he's there, as the first person, did a couple things to, begin to make sure that the car was put together. Now we got gentleman number 2 who's, done his part, and now gentleman number 3 is taking over, to make sure that the whole process is complete. So how a sales process looks like broken down into, steps. What does that look like? Okay. If we're going to break down a sales process, in the example of sale, the first thing we have to look at is that we know that there is prospecting. Prospecting happens, and it's important for people to really kind of get the key concept here, that there has to be a needs assessment, and there's got to be a closing part of the process, and then we got to onboard the customer. But in the process of prospecting, we can teach someone to probably do some of the things that we do in our prospecting. We've done that with some of our clients. Some of our clients have become our best sales team. They bring us people all the time, and for that we have some sort of process for rewarding them for bringing us new clients. Some of them don't even care whether they get a reward. They just want to have someone have the same experience they did and getting the service that they received for the area of their need or their requirement. Then you got to have this needs assessment. If you train somebody how to effectively ask a sequence of questions, you could train them to do a needs assessment. So literally, there are people who are able to screen and find out what a party might need, when they're coming to your service, and to see how you might be able to serve them better. Then, of course, the closing. This is probably, one of the areas where there's a discrete set of steps that a person might take, that they close the deal with the customer. And it was kind of important, for us to have a conversation. I talk about my husband and I, because we work very closely together in our company. We have other people that work alongside of us, but we probably are the two that work the closest together. And one of the things that was a pretty exciting time is when he was able to close a customer, without me. And I was excited about it too, because I was like, yes, the steps were there. He was able to follow them, and he even put in his own set of pieces in between that actually made it easier for him to get from step 1 to step 2, and I tell you, when the deal was closed, it was an amazing thing. We don't usually look at our clients as deals closing, but for the sake of this conversation, we'll talk about it this way, because we are big on service over here in this camp, okay? And we're huge in talking about how we serve people. But of course, we know that when a person has paid us for that service, then that it does represent a closed client for us. And as a result of that, we, in the context of this conversation, we can say that the steps were followed and the closing occurred. Now, of course, onboarding has to happen, and training new customers or helping new customers to use your services or use them well, welcoming new customers to to our platform, and having a repeatable process that we put in place for that. We had to actually elevate one of our people within our company, Kevin. He was doing something different before, and now he's been elevated to the onboarding customer success management area. And so we're helping him to build out that process so he can, really serve our new customers as they're coming in the door, and welcome them to, being a part of our platform, to make sure that whatever their need is or their requirement is, they get those things met. So it's important in every company that you have a process that looks sort of like this, that there's somebody, who's maybe doing the prospecting or something, some software, some tool. And then there might be a person, a live human that actually is going to be there to do the needs assessment. Although you also might employ some technology, because we have a set of forms, that, pulls information from our clients, and that set of forms that pull the information from the client helps us to understand the client's need. And so based on our understanding the client need, then we can go forward into the onboarding process, well, before we get to the onboarding, we got to close them. But, when we get to the onboarding, because that needs assessment, if we found that we can serve them, the information in that needs assessment is going to help, our customer success manager to better onboard them, because he will be able to see, oh, okay, they purchased these particular items. They're going to be needing this, or this to go along with that to make sure that they can get into the system properly. This is the part of the system that they're needing, to be able to get into. And so we really, really try to make that an ease of use kind of situation. Okay. So, the stages of delegation are really important. And we've got to have in those stages an increasing level of autonomy as we move up each stage, and as um, our staff, is being delegated to receive this, or our tools or our tech is being delegated to receive this, there's going to be more decision-making discretion, in those systems that we're building. And so let's kind of look at those. So we have this follow my lead kind of thing, when I was the person who was doing most of the closing, and in a situation where, I didn't really have anyone to delegate to at the beginning, there were some things that I could not see, that were really a need, but when we got into a situation where we had a lot more clients, and I was so far spent and, spread all over the place, I really saw that, okay, having a person that would be able to follow my lead, and that I could trust to follow the instructions, positioned me differently. So we have to start at the very bottom of the authority sort of a scope, which is really the follow my lead section, if I could say that. And, what happens here is that you ask questions like this, or you tell people, let me know if you have questions about the process, or suggestions even for how to make it better. That's really, really, really important. People need to be in a position where they feel empowered, to make suggestions about a system. I shared this many times, that the very first employees that we had at our company were people who, were engineers. And I love engineers because they find problems to solve. I tell you, and it was so important as I was delegating, to our first person who was in that position, as I delegated to her and told her, let me know if you have any questions about what it is that I'm doing. And then, also gave her the ability to, make some suggestions, some delegated authority is what I call that. It was really, really amazing, how we were able to develop out some standard operating procedures and develop out a way of, putting those procedures in a place where people could find them as they came in, to help as well. And if there's a task in a business that's very important, you've really documented that effectively, when you've put out those standard operating procedures, when you've really documented that effectively, people are able to follow without having to come to you for everything. It is very frustrating as a leader. And sometimes we put ourselves in this position when we put together a process and then we've made people dependent on us. So it's like, okay, well, here's the process. Okay, but you still need me to complete it. And that is not necessarily the goal. I mean, your goal should make it so that people don't need you. And I know that's a little daunting for a lot of people because they like to feel needed. I'm just saying that it's better when you don't have to feel needed, okay? When you feel like you have trained people well enough so that they can do what you do, and sometimes even better than you did it, that is an amazing, amazing feat. You want to have, this section of your life where things are running like a well-oiled machine. So higher up, or slightly higher up on the autonomy scale, in your delegation area, is the research and report level, okay? And so we've got to understand that research and report is, I trust you to think like an owner. I love that position, and please research some options for completing this task. Outline which options you considered, the pros and the cons to each, and which option you would choose if you were the owner of the business. I remember giving that kind of delegation, that autonomy, I should say delegated authority over to our team. And I tell you, they came back with some amazing things, and they created a process that made it easier for us to help form entities. And they built it out in JavaScript. And I would just remember this whole process as they were testing it and making sure that it did what it was supposed to do. And every step of the way, they were bringing me in so that I could see, what they had done. And I mean, I was just so excited because they were building it out as if they themselves were the ones who were going to be the beneficiaries of this particular process, and when I was able to tell them that I trusted them, they just went for it. Okay. One of them even asked me, hey, can I take this class? It's going to cost X. And I'm like, yes, I'm absolutely in. I'm all in. Okay. Because I want you to have everything you need to have so that you can think like an owner. And when you think like an owner, you're going to come back to me with something that is far more impactful than if you had to feel like you have to ask me every step along the way. Well, do you like it this way or do you like it that way? Those are things that, yes, we can customize it a little later, but I want you to build it right now. Okay. So, we call this the do it and report. Okay. In the do it and report level, you're trusting that the party that you have turned this over to is doing what they think is right. And, telling them that you want them to make the decision. You want to go away, and look at the alternatives. You want them to go away and look at the alternatives, make a decision on the way that they think it should be, and then come back as if they were the owner of the company. I trust you to do what you think is right. Please keep me in the loop. Okay. In that feedback loop, I'm going to give you, some valuable, informative feedback. That's why you need to keep me in the loop. But for the most part, you're giving me these regular updates on your progress, not my progress. The nuance here is that I still want to be kept in the loop. So don't go into isolation, keep me informed. But I want you to understand that you can, you can do this. I'm trusting you to do it. So here's the deal. It's possible for you to use parameters, budget ranges to create ranges of control. You tell them, hey, stay within this particular budget or stay within this particular time frame, or keep this inside the doors of the company. We don't want to go and outsource any of this. We want to use our teams that are here, or if we are outsourcing it, we only want to use these particular companies. Those types of controls, when you put those in and around the process, you make it a safe space for people to create and innovate. So the fourth and final stage is for them to just simply do it. Okay. I trust you to take this off my plate. Okay. I don't want to be involved. I want you to run with it. And I actually don't even want to have you report back to me. There are some people in the scope of your business, in your team, that you can trust for them to go all the way down the finish line with it, and they don't have to report back. There are some times where you can do that even with people at the lower levels of your delegation process, based on how you have watched them perform, things that you've seen them do, their ability to get certain things completed, and the level of excellence with which they do it. That level of delegation can be there for you in your company, for people even at a lower level, if they have shown themselves to be proficient. So when you tell people that you want them to run with it, I mean, you got to mean what you say, okay? And giving them the do it stage, but expecting to be fully involved in the discussions, could be a conundrum, because you're telling them, hey, I want you to do it. And then you turn around and say, hey, you did that without calling me. That's not necessarily the the way forward in this particular situation. You want to make sure that people that you're working with feel valued, feel trusted, and feel like you do and say things that are that are congruent with each other. Okay. So you don't want them to feel paralyzed. You want them to know that, when you say you trust them, you do. Now, I want to tell you that in our process over here at Red Worldwide, um, we have a tool that we use, and it's called the Value Builder Score. And I want you to understand that I know it says here your personal link. That's our personal link that's supposed to be up there. But let me just say this. If you go to redworldwide.org and put // value, you can get your complimentary value builder score. When you are able to reach out to us and get that complimentary value builder score, we can give you some tools that, you can utilize to help make your company more efficient at using these 4 degrees of delegation. There's some other tools. We talked about getting out of the owner's trap. Well, getting out of the owner's trap is easier when you know how to utilize the 8 drivers of business value. And so after you get your value builder score, you can get a free um, session with us, a complimentary session where we will sit down and go over your company with you and talk about areas that you could utilize these 8 drivers of business value, how you can improve or increase your value of your company, and what you could do, as related to becoming a more valuable company. We want people to get involved in doing more than creating a company that is making more money. We want you to be more valuable in a sale, because there are a lot of people whose companies, have the revenue and even revenue projections. But when they get ready to sell the company, they don't get the value out of it that they put into it, the value that they deserve and the one that they desire. So what we do is we help you in our coaching sessions and advisory sessions. We actually go through the value builder engagement with you, and we help you to increase your company's value, not just improve the company revenue. And so those are 2 separate things, and we do them in our program very effectively for our customers. And you can learn a little bit more about this again by going to our website, redworldwide.org. You can also look at the top in the menu bar, and there in the menu bar, you will see the information that will help you to know exactly, all of the tools that we have there with regards to building value in the company. But we want you to choose the one that says build value. We have a value calculator, and you can use that to get an estimate of value for what your company is worth. But we really do want you to pay attention to here. We're on our site right now, where we have this build value tab, because that's where you're going to go and sign up to get your value builder score. You'll fill out the form here, and it's a complimentary form. It's very secure. We are, not going to collect information from you and then sell it to someone else. You can read our privacy policy here at the bottom, that tells you how, in our terms and conditions, it tells you how we use the information that we get. But at the end of the day, you'll have access to this tool, and the tool itself, will help us help you to understand how you can build value in your company. And I did mention the value calculator, so I'll show you that. Here you can calculate your earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, get an estimate of value in terms of what your company might be worth, and so that would be really important. However, if you do this part and get that estimate of value, then when you do the build value questionnaire, or the value builder questionnaire, there's going to be a place in there where it's going to ask you for those numbers. So, you'll now have numbers to plug in so you can get a more succinct way of seeing what your company could be worth, and what you might sell for. Okay. Well, this has been Patience Rose with Co-working Live with Red Worldwide. We have been so excited for you to be a part today. And as we are looking forward to those of you who are going to be, joining us tomorrow. We want to let you know that it's always a pleasure for you to be a part of what we're a part of. And we are so excited, to continue to bring value to your companies. And with that said, we'll see you again next time.